Facebook reveals up to 87 million users may have been affected in the Cambridge Analytica data scandal. That's nearly double what was first reported by the company. CEO Mark Zuckerberg reflected on what his company could have done better during a phone call with reporters yesterday.
But it's clear now that we didn't do enough. We didn't focus enough on preventing abuse and thinking through how people could use these tools to do harm as well. And that goes for fake news, foreign interference in elections, hate speech, in addition to developers and data privacy. We didn't take a broad enough view of what our responsibility is, and that was a huge mistake. It was my mistake.
This coming as Zuckerberg is set to appear before the House Energy and Commerce Committee for the first time on April 11th. Joining us now is the technology editor from Mashable, Pete Paschal. Pete, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
How big of a deal is this for Facebook?
Oh, it's a huge deal. I mean, the thing is, they've made a lot of changes and a lot of public statements in the last couple of weeks over this whole scandal. But really what the questions, there's going to be a lot of questions when he gets to Capitol Hill, but the main one is, can we trust this guy? Why should we trust you to continue to fix Facebook? While he has sort of dodged a little bit on this, whether he should testify, he has obviously agreed to do it. And even though he may not know all the details, like he said, like, okay, maybe we'll send legal counsel or product leads as well to sort of get to the nitty gritty. Like, it's very important we understand the philosophy of this company and just the whole outlook for the future. And that stems directly from him.
Well, the philosophy of the company has been to connect as many people as possible, right? As sort of agnostically or without a political perspective, they say.
Yeah, we heard that in the memo.
We hear that all the time. We heard that in the memo. But you know, Congress is going to look to fix anything through regulation, unfortunately. What is the biggest threat of regulation that Facebook would face?
Well, it's interesting that Zuckerberg actually seemed very open to regulation when he was giving those interviews at the outset of this whole scandal.
He's got to say that, though.
Exactly, right? Because he knows it's coming,
sure.
And his mission now is to make it as light as possible. But what does regulation of Facebook look like? Well, in the short term, I think it's basically making the ads on Facebook as transparent as political ads on TV, and I think he's sort of very open to that. There probably shouldn't be two sets of rules, one for online and one for TV, so that you have things like the paid for by so-and-so
sure.
Group on online ads.
Yeah, because they're a media company.
Absolutely, but the longer term picture of this is general data privacy and data ownership from users. It's similar to what's happening in Europe in the next couple of months with the GDPR, a very broad-based privacy and data ownership bill for citizens. That looks like it may or may not be a thing in the U.S., but because these global companies are going to have to adapt to those laws in France and the EU, that will have ramifications throughout the world. So, and Facebook is already moving in this direction.
Yeah, but Pete, it seems like that it's not just the data issue, it's the content issue.
Yeah.
Sure. They're manipulating the content for a specific point of view. So the question that I would love for Congress to ask, who is making the decision as to what content gets put on Facebook and who gets to see it?
Yeah, I think this is the more important question for Congress right now.
Yeah.
They want to know why these companies are able to control what we see.
Yeah, well, I mean, they would argue that the algorithm that controls what you see is tailored to you, so rather than Facebook serving up its point of view and saying, like, you should read this and not that, like they're saying, oh, it's responding to things that you've clicked on, that you've expressed an interest in, that whether it's political or otherwise, and say, oh, we're just going to serve you more of that.
But the concern is that if you've shown a particular political view, then the algorithm changes whether you can monetize that view and share it with more people, how many people actually see it. And especially for conservatives, that is the real concern. Are you a media company, or are you slanted in one direction based on social responsibility and, being welcomed into the corporate community?
Yeah, and that is a huge concern with Facebook, with YouTube, with Twitter now. There seems to be a very strong reaction that they would have preferred a year or two ago that we're just a platform. Here's all the stuff, and people have freedom of speech and they can kind of say what they want. And now, by and large, they're trying to respond to outcries and to some extent their user base, like demands for, like, wait a minute, maybe there should be some other filter here, which essentially says you need to be an editor.
Yeah.
And you need to be a media company and not just a platform. And they very much resist that label.
They resist it, but they are a media company.
Yes, they are.
And they act like a media company, but they don't want to be regulated like a media company, and they don't want to pay for content like a media company.
Has there been any talk, though, about the other apps that they own, like WhatsApp and Instagram, and the fact that whenever you look at something on Instagram, then you'll see it on your Facebook feed as well, and so whether there's going to be regulations on that, and that you're seeing posts from hours ago just because it's relevant or paid?
That's an extremely great question, because I feel like all this talk about Facebook, it's kind of like fighting the last war. Mm-hmm. You know, like there's going to be so much scrutiny on Facebook in this coming election and just going forward in general that I don't think the problems of the next generation of tech products are going to stem from there. But Instagram is the same company.
It's the new, everybody uses that now.
And so is WhatsApp.
And I think the ads there are much more effective because they dominate. They are much more tailored. Like I've been sucked into Instagram ads and
I do
bought
too.
some stuff.
And I've seen Instagram ads are devastatingly effective.
Yeah, and those videos.
Yes.
And I've seen local politicians in my town use it very effectively as well. So I feel like that is Instagram and other services, whether it's Snapchat or Twitter or what have you, is going to be sort of the next frontier on this battle, and we're barely paying attention right now.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Congress is, though. People know what's owned by Facebook. And then there's this, a Catholic university says that Facebook rejected an advertisement to promote its theology program. In a tweet last week, the university posted the ad in question with the caption, which reads, "An ad we placed was rejected by Facebook today for content that is shocking, sensational, and excessively violent." The content had a picture of Jesus Christ on the cross. They say we must agree with them. The Daily Mail is reporting that Facebook mistakenly rejected the ad and has now approved it. Governor, what's your take on this?
Well, this goes to the point, Pete. Who makes this decision? Who at Facebook is so ridiculously ignorant that they don't understand that the picture of the crucifix is pretty well out in the marketplace and is not something that ought to be censored or just put aside? I mean, that's absurd.
Well, this is actually a point where I actually don't want to hear directly from Zuckerberg on this because I don't think he knows. I do want to hear, like, the guy who designed the algorithm and the other people who are in charge of the news feed on, like, who's the editorial board and who is, like, when the algorithm does make a boo-boo, like, who comes in and says, okay, let's do this or let's do that. Like, how are these decisions actually getting made?
Yeah.
I don't think Zuckerberg really knows that, even though it's important to hear his philosophy, but I totally agree with you. Because they've gone back and forth on this many times on many different pieces of
time he's sitting in that seat speaking to Congress, he better know the answers to that. No, seriously. He can't just say, I don't know. I have to ask an underling that question.
And I think there's, like, they've made a lot of changes in the last couple of weeks. And it's honestly, even though that's encouraging, it's not a good look that you only respond in the wake of a scandal. Like, where were these changes years ago? Why weren't you paying some more attention to, or even weeks ago, come to think of it, like all the data that you have, that your platform was basically a sieve of data for years, from like about 2010 till 2014.
Yeah.
Anyone could just grab the data from not just you, but your friends, as long as you installed some quiz app.
Yeah, the Facebook shares this morning are up about 3%, actually.